I'm Jessica Kringle. Of course, most of you know me as Mrs. Claus, and we have been cooking with Claus as we count down the days of December by doing a different recipe each day with my family's recipe boxes, sweets and treats recipes for Christmas. And we are almost out of recipe cards up here, aren't we? It is the 22nd of December. Just a couple of more days until Christmas. This is so exciting. So let's go ahead and find out what we get to make today from our Advent calendar. Oh goody, we get to do the mint surprise cookies. And I'll show you in just a moment what makes them such a surprise to do. Now, if you'd like to get the full recipe, you can go to www.crafterscountdown.com and there will be an option to download a printable PDF of these cute little cards that we've been using. But in the meantime, I need to wash my hands and get out those ingredients for you, so I will be back with you in just a few minutes. Now, this recipe is one that it's pretty voluminous, and I think the reason for it is because the mints that we use usually come in a little box, and the box has 28 mints in it. And so in order to make it turn out with the right numbers for the number of cookies with the number of mints that come in the boxes, you need to make quite a bit. Now, I was able to find the exact same brand of mints in a bulk bin in the store and buy them by the pound, and therefore I can half the recipe if I want also. So you've got some options there, but this will make a lot of cookies if you make the full recipe. My hands are clean and I have gotten out our ingredients so we can get started on our mint surprise cookies. We've measured our shortening and gotten that out, and we're going to add to that our sugar, just quite a bit. Nice sweet cookies, right? And then we need the zest of 2 lemons. This is our lemon zester here, and just like always, you can use a cheese grater on the end of it. I also have one that makes little strings, but this one's nice because it grates it into small pieces, which is good for the recipe. It stirs it up. And we're going to just zest this lemon. You go around the bright yellow parts. Enjoy the smell. That's so wonderful. Now, it does say to do 2 lemons, but it also it gives you the measurement for it. So if you have some smaller lemons or larger lemons, you can still measure. If you like your cookies just a little bit more tart, you probably go ahead and use the entire large lemon if you want to. Personally, I think it's the lemon zest that makes me like these cookies so very much. Oh, and I like mint and chocolate also. All right, so just let's see how much we've got from our 1 lemon. Not quite a teaspoon there. Let's see if we get the rest out. Oh, yep, that's just about a teaspoon, so we'll go ahead and put that in here. Now, don't waste these. They are great squeezed into some water to drink, or you can just slice them and set them in water and let them diffuse for a little while. Make sure you stay hydrated, especially if you've got your heaters or fireplaces running, because you get really dry. And then of course the rinds go in our compost. So I will be drinking a little bit of water in a bit. All right, now we're going to go ahead and mix this. And then to that, we're going to add our milk and our eggs. And remember that I like to crack my eggs into a different container and make sure I don't get any shells in there. Again, I have done really well. I haven't had to pick a single shell out in front of you all season, and it's almost over. Right. Even when Andrew helped me the other day, I didn't have to pick shells out. He did a good job too. Perfect. And then these these, like the lemons, go in our compost right over there. All right, I'll have to worry about getting those in there later, won't I? All right, and our milk. And we'll mix this. Now we're going to mix our dry ingredients. So we have our flour in here, and we're going to add our salt, baking powder, and baking soda. Some of each. Those are nice because they make a fluffy little cookie with all that baking additive in there. All right, and then we need to mix this well. And we're going to add this to our wet ingredients. We've got this all mixed. Now we're going to preheat our oven to 400 degrees. And then we need to lightly grease our cookie sheets or baking sheets. And I put a little bit of shortening on a paper towel I've been using for this whole countdown just over and over again. So don't throw it away each time. When I measured the shortening for our recipe, I went ahead and, wiped the measuring cup with my paper towel just to get some of that so it didn't go to waste. Now, we're not going to roll these on a pastry mat with a roller, but we're going to make little balls and flatten them with our hands. And then I have peeled the mints that we got, and you place a mint in the center, and you take another little flat of dough, place it on top, similar to those fig cookies that my mom and I made for you at the beginning of the month, huh? These have chocolate in the middle. Okay, and then you just like the other cookies, you seal the edges with a fork. Because these don't have the jam expanding, the heat expanding with the liquid on the inside, you don't have to pierce it with holes like you did the fig jam cookies. And we are going to continue to make little rounds, hide a mint inside of them, put a top on, seal the edges until we have our tray full. So give me just a moment. And then we will bake these for 10 minutes. Now, if you have ever watched any of the Crafting with Claus videos, then you know that I try to encourage you to make it your own. I see it gets me in trouble sometimes, but I do see recipes as more like guidelines than written law when it comes to following the directions and adding a little of this or a little of that. And so I was thinking, as I was forming these, about some little cutters that I got, little cookie cutters, at one of those stores where things just cost $1 each. I got them right after Thanksgiving, I guess. And I was wondering if those would do as good a job of sealing and forming these cookies as using the wonderful little fork that my mom always uses. So, show you what I did to experiment here. So I placed my mint in there. Now this makes a thinner cookie also, so if you like a big cakey cookie with lots and lots of dough, then you may prefer to do it where you seal it the edges with a fork. This one I just found, I did experiment a little bit just to try it before I shared it with you. Make sure that I can get this right. But I placed that there, and then I used this little cookie cutter. Now the difficult thing, I guess, is making sure that you actually keep that mint right in the center and don't accidentally cut it off. But I peel away the extra dough, and it makes one small little cookie there, and our mint is still hidden inside there. So I'm going to make a few more of these. I kind of just think they're fun, and I like the way they look, and I get to use one of my new toys. So, win, win, win all the way around on that one. To save one for my mom and see what she thinks, huh? Doing it a little different than she's always done it. Children would love to make these, especially since you're doing so much of the forming by hand. The difficult skills of using a rolling pin and a pastry mat and those kinds of things aren't necessary for this. And they get to use their little hands, which is good for this. And everyone can make their own little cookie and hide their little mint inside of it. Now these don't spread too much when they're baking. A little bit, but not too much. So it's okay to put them a little bit close together. Just hide that in there. Get a little bit more dough to make our top. Oh, I wish I had Andrew here to help me today, huh? He could help me whip these out in no time. If you didn't catch it, my little Andrew, my elf on a shelf, came and helped me make the chocolate cherry cream cookies the other day. Those were really yummy, and that was a lot of fun getting to share that time with him. I'm going to finish making up this tray of these cookies with this new shape that I'm playing with here, and I will be back with you in just a few minutes. Just like all of our cookie recipes, we want to, as quickly as possible, get them off of the hot baking tray and onto a cooling rack so that the bottoms of them don't continue to cook and brown while the tops of them are perfect. Hey, and if you look at our little tray, you can see a variety of shapes and sizes here. So this little cookie is ones just like my mom makes. She just does the whole thing by hand and crimps it. Now, I played around with my little cookie cutter, and so this one, after I put the mint inside, I pressed down with the straight end. Let's see, these two, I went ahead and used the decorative edge as I pressed down, and it sealed them just fine. Now, I did take one where I had cut it round instead of just forming it by hand, and then put the fork marks on there to make it more decorative. That made a pretty little cookie. And then I went ahead and used the scalloped edge for one, and then put the fork in it also just to play around. And before it cooked, it looked just like a sunflower. It's kind of flattened out a little bit. Make it your own. Experiment with this. You've got a really, really wonderful, yummy dough recipe. You've got the little mint surprise inside, which anybody would love to accidentally bite into as they go. If you do make some, be sure and send me pictures. I'd love to see them on our Crafters Countdown Facebook page. That would be super fun. And I hope that you will join me tomorrow as we continue to count down our few last days until Christmas by doing a different one of my family's recipes each day. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.